break away with South Africa, what led to their breaking away with South Africa as time was going, and what happened in that time flow, because they were not struggle to end this gross inhumane system. So what led to they ending their ties, if they were not caused to liberate the colonial leaders and also the white leaders who were there to indeed take over and continue their inhumane activities in South Africa? Why did they break ties with South Africa? Thank you very much, Professor Odex Kumar.
Like about the diplomatic ties, sir. Is it the question is
Yes,
about?
exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
In short, in very short manner, the answer can be that it reflects an early example of ethical foreign policy rooted in India's foreign policy about the Gandhi's values. Why? Because how we can stand with someone who is doing the same which we suffer from, like in 1990s till 1990s, you can see the apartheid and the influence of the people remained, and discrimination remains in place,
Broke
though
away
it
in the
was decreased
1940s, 50s.
in
And
1914 and 15. Actually, it was the time, sir. It was actually the time. It was actually the time of World War. If we recall that
yes,
there were two World War, 1914 and 1918. It was First World War, and after that, in 1939 to 1945, it was Second World War.
but
And what
both
happened? Many, if you see the history, then you will find that many countries got independent at that time, including
in
India,
Africa.
including in
Yes.
many countries of Africa too. So this was not actually coincidence. It was actually because the colonial powers were getting weak due to the war, and they were not able to maintain their hold or imperialistic control over over these people of these countries. And because of the presence of the dynamic leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, and like we have Mahatma Gandhi and many other leaders who were very pivotal in the resistance movement in their places. So it was not possible to control these the dynamic people of these countries anymore for the colonial powers. So this was not a concept. Even 1960 is also called the year of Africa, sir.
Mhm.
1960 is called the year of Africa. Why? Because many countries got the independence, but colonialism or the imperialistic control is having a long-term effect, sir. It sow the seed of discrimination in the societies, not only in India, not only in Africa, but in Sri Lanka also. You can see the discrimination seed of discrimination between the on the basis of the caste, on the basis of the religion, on the basis of the color. These were the tools of rule by the colonial powers, and they until today we can see its impact on the people's life. And for this region, when we talk the aspect of the diplomatic ties, we cannot stand with anyone who is doing the same thing which are leading to that discrimination. But after 1990s, and after there was a paradigm shift in the status of the Africa, in the status of India. It became the century. It was there was a great news circulating among the global community that it is going to be the century of India, Africa, and we can name the China too. So because of this, the strong moral opposition to racial segregation, alignment with the anti-colonial struggles, advocacy to global sanctions, because if such pressure or such diplomatic relations continued after 1946, and then the people who were carry forwarding the legacy of discrimination, they are going to be encouraged. There was the danger of encouragement of these people, and they can gain power on the basis of support of many like-minded people, and it was not in the interest of the citizen of these places. So India maintained this stance until the apartheid ended completely, or to the extent by which they can have a legitimized engagement, uh, engagement in these countries. Otherwise, it was just like accepting the injustice officially. So that's why India took a stand of this, and there were the world divided into that. Moreover, that the world divided into the world, first world, second world, third world. The each people were having their own, we can say, side. Like, if you are not standing with us, then you are going to be the enemy of ours. If you are standing with others, then you are going to be the enemy of others. So there is a concept arises, non-alignment movement, NAM, that we are going to have the balanced relation with first world and second world, and we are going to safeguard the interest of our people on the basis of the path that our leaders are shown in the past, and as per our own cultural value. We are not going to accept the dominance of cultural dominance on our places of the colonial powers. So this was an aspect which India follow in the past time, and now we can see in current context, Africa and India both having the youth, both having the great digitally connected, and going hand in hand in many places, including in the United Nations.
Wow, this is another deep, in-depth, because if indeed the Indians, together with Mahatma Gandhi, who were fighting to end the apartheid system in South Africa, were pushing forth through the Satyagraha ideology, using non-violent means, using the truth, standing for the truth, standing to be engaged in the suffering to gain sympathy from the colonial leaders, and also to gain the masses to support them. And they were also fighting through non-violent means. And yet, the colonizers still wanted to pursue their inhuman activities. The Indians wanted to maintain their stand by post-independence in their country, cutting away ties to show that, yes, they are still resolute in their cause. Till the 1990s, when South Africa gained independence, 1994, when Mandela became the first black leader of South Africa, leading to the restoration of ties between both countries. That showed that indeed India was resolute and they did not want to be loosened or settle for less. So they were in for freedom and for liberation. And this is very, very, very insightful, as you said to us, Professor Odesh Kumar. I want to ask you again, apart from the Satyagraha ideology, which was used by Mahatma Gandhi, the ANC used various tactics to also fight colonial domination in South Africa, to free the people, not only the people, but also to free foreigners who were in South Africa, to free the Indians, to free vast people who were in South Africa, even though they were British. And there were different kinds of people in South Africa. There were Danes who were there, who did not adapt with the colonial ideology. Apart from the armed struggle, the protests, the boycotts, all of those things that happened, the boycotts and all that happened. Looking at all of these things, together with the Satyagraha ideology, what would you also pick from the ANC? Because if you were alive then or you were dead, I'm sure you would have been part of the Natal Indian Congress. Whilst you would have cooperated with the ANC. But what would you have picked from the ANC if you were in that time frame in South Africa? What lessons would you have learned from the ANC's practice to also fight for the independence of South Africa, which has served as a frontier in the governance of India for us all? Thank you, Professor Odesh Kumar.
It's indeed a very good question, sir. And right, there are many challenges which are forefront in India. Particularly, these are de-accelerating the progress of India also, and caste discrimination and religion-based and many other aspects. Like there are many external pressures also, many internal altercation also, because like Africa, India is also a country of diversity. Whether you talk about the demographical diversity or geographical diversity, you will find it in both the places. And if I briefly answer it, then the struggle is behind the. Then we can say that no single strategy is going to work. Uh, no single strategy is going to work. If we want a real change, then
Yes, but I
we
want to also,
want the mix of it.
but, yeah, but I also want to also know what you learned from the ANC's proactive strategies towards ensuring liberation in South Africa, aside the Satyagraha ideology, which was used by Mahatma Gandhi, which also the ANC used. But at certain points in time, they used different kinds of tactics. I also want to know what you found useful from the ANC, the African National Congress, towards indeed fighting for the masses, like because they were not only fighting for South African natives, but also for the masses. Because in South Africa's government, post Mandela's government, we had Indians like Dullah Omar and different kinds of Indians, Jesse, who were part of his cabinet. So he fought for the masses, not only for South African natives, not only for the Xhosas or for the Zulus, but for everyone. What would you also pick from the ANC's strategic tactics towards ensuring liberation in South
Yeah,
Africa?
there are like moral resistance we can have, and uh, the like the social justice required for both moral reform and structural change. If you wish to any change or you want to any strategy, like if you are talking about the ANCs, and that can be implemented in India to solve India's the problems of India's context, then you can if you want anything or I want anything to bring that is the first thing is the social justice. Then dialogue is more sustainable than the coercion. If I try to teach anything to the people forcefully, then it is not going to work definitely. And these are the learning that we can adapt from the Africa to the India in solving the problem. Like dialogues are more sustainable. And strategies, autonomy is a global politics is crucial. These days, the global scenario is somewhere very disturbed. The people, the very not only culturally but economic resources are also under question. So this is a new kind of the world. This is a new kind of the world. That's why we are facing new kind of the problems. That's why we need the new kind of solution inspired from the proven strategies which were worked in the past, like in this case ANC, and in India and Africa both are as full of the diversity. So we can implement this here, like moral resistance, international pressures and sanctions, cultural mobilization, political negotiation, and at times of the armed resistance too. The negotiations are working very well. If you
Okay, so
understand the people's need and if you solve it rationally without any discrimination, then they are going to put their arms down. And this is the non-violence and the Gandhi Satyagraha is what it's all about.
wow. So you've spoken about social dialogue and also economic resources and also solving issues without discrimination. That is very, very critical. So it all goes down to the Satyagraha ideology, using non-violent means to resolve conflicts. And of course, social dialogue approaches through soft power, whereby people sit down to talk about various issues. That's very, very, very important. And this is something that I think we need to keep on learning from you and from India towards resolving our issues through social dialogues, whereby people can come and bring their issues on board for us to all resolve. To Professor Rajesh Kumar, looking at the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Committee in South Africa, how would you assess their modus operandi of resolving the apartheid insurgencies? Because it happened. The first happened, I think, in East London, in South Africa. They sat down to let people bring forth their views. People said different kinds of things. People came to confess about what they did. How they killed people, how they were involved in destroying people's lives, burning people and burying them here and there, how they were involved in serving as informants to the police, and all of that. How would you assess their modus operandi in resolving the apartheid system, Professor Rajesh Kumar?
Yeah, Truth and Reconciliation Commissions like TRCs.
Yes.
And here we can see a great analogy, like India, but India needs the context-specific reconciliation model.
More, or
Like
how
if,
would you assess how they behaved?
yeah, like
Do you think they could have done
actually,
more, or it was?
okay. So, as we were discussing earlier in the beginning of the interview, that if these legends or great leaders which we are talking about today, like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and Kwame Nkrumah, so
Yes.
if they imagine a situation that if they choose the revenge
Yes.
over the reconciliation, imagine a situation that these leaders choose revenge over reconciliation. Can you imagine what can be the consequences of that? But they don't choose that. They choose,
Yes.
right? They choose the method of truth, the willpower, and the inner light they were having. And I believe that whether it's a caste based discrimination, whether it's a religion based or regional insurgencies, you have to hear the people. If you are not ready to hear, you have to ready for the conflict. For all the governments, for all the people, or all the stakeholders, you have to hear first. You have to open your ear first before opening the mouth. This is the short message, which were the lessons learning of the past from these great leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and Kwame Nkrumah. So we should follow that. And here I would like to particularly mention that the truth over the revenge, we have to choose conditional amnesty. We have to go for that. National healing. It is not like that regional healings are there. You should have to context specific, but you have to go for the entire person. No person having the grievance in their heart. And acknowledging the historical injustices is it's essential. If any person is crying, try to know the reason why he is crying. If any person is complaining, don't say that you are complaining. In place of that, try to sit with that person and ask that why you are complaining. Try to know the reason behind that. And because of this, dialogue always promote healing. Because of any atrocity in the past or present, if you are continue with the dialogue, then it is going to promote the healing. But yes, there are limitations like scale and diversity. In India, there are many languages, and Africa also, I believe. So,
Yes.
ongoing non-post conflicts, you have to understand their nature, and there are international powers also, whether it is in their interest, and that's why they are, or if they are natural one. So you have to understand the nature of the problems also, so that you can understand the people. And political sensitivity is the foremost which is required. Gandhian model is not all about preaching the good things to the people, but it is about implementing the good thing in the administration also. He talk about Ram. He was the person who talk about the Ram Rajya. Ram the is a mythological figure, and treated as a great with a great respect, not only in the heart of Indians, but in all over the world also. And his the rule of the Ram means a state of complete injustice, a state where the suffering of the peoples are going to be here by the administration. People are going to get the relief. They are not going to left alone for crying. They are not going to discriminate on the basis of the caste, on the basis of the religion, on the basis of the color. If they are breathing, they are one. That's all. This is the single line answer. So we have to move towards such values. Yes, there are challenges, but we are much developed society today. We are more connected society today. Today, you are connecting from a very distant place to a place where I am sitting. But it is possible. We are exchanging the thought. We are exchanging our opinion about various philosophies. So these are the opportunity also. So we have to see the positive side and try to move hand in hand for the solution.
Wow. It's been very, 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 very insightful hearing from you because it's all been centered on the truth and through democratic reasoning, through the masses being engaged in how things go on. And you've made it clear that the TRC were on the course, the right course, because the inclusion of the people towards reflecting their views, their grievances, was what led to the wounds being healed. And this is what needs to be done. If we want wounds to be healed, then we need to even be proactive so that wounds won't be healed, so that wounds won't even take place. People won't even be injured, you know. And this involves a democratic system whereby, regardless of whether you are, whether you are white, black, Indian, you are colored, we are all part of the system. And that's why I'm very elated that the ANC government had the inclusion of the Natal Indian Congress, the South African Communist Party, and even people from the colonial government, from the Afrikaner Party, being inclusive in how things were going. They had a constitution that reflected indeed the masses being involved in how things would go.
Right.
And listening to you, Professor Adesh Kumar, you are a pace setter for the kind of world we want. And your views and your speeches indeed reflect that you are a man not only from India, but a man who wants a world integration. And of course, Indians have stood tall for global tranquility. And you are reflecting that cause, not only being a patriotic Indian, but a worldly figure who wants to see that, yes, we can all harmonize and work together. And this is a very, very, very calm and very, very soothing to hear that we have people like you who are in there to fight for the kind of world we want. I want to ask you our last question, and this is about how you see Africa's sovereignty and your views towards how we can indeed progress the cause of Africa's sovereignty. Because even though we are sovereign, we have various issues every time. What are your views towards the strengthening of Africa's sovereignty before we end this meeting, which will be put on place for everyone to listen to this phenomenal interview with highly esteemed Professor Adesh Kumar? Thank you.
Okay, I think it's a natural thing that if I try to answer it in the way of Satyagraha or Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy, or also in the philosophy of the leaders of Africa too, and our cultural roots also, the commonality we are sharing together as a brother and sisters. So, sovereignty, what is the meaning of the sovereignty? Let us discuss what is the meaning of the sovereignty before answering this question. And when we define the sovereignty, we will get the answer from our own heart. Everyone who is listening or everyone who is hearing or having this question in their mind, they are going to get the answer. Like sovereignty means it is not merely the transfer of the power from the foreign rulers to the local governments or absence of the interference, but the true sovereignty is the Swaraj, the self-rule rooted in the moral authority, self-reliance, and dignity, the rules of the people, the rules, the most important in the eyes of the person who suffered most. If he is not satisfied or she is not satisfied, there is no meaning of such words, sir, like sovereignty. So it is not just like the transfer of the power from one to another, from one political leader to another, one country to another, but it or the absence of the interference of the foreign powers, but it is the self-rule of the people. And applied to Africa, sovereignty must go beyond the political independence. It should not be bound in the definition of the political independence also. I would like to cover this in the three major dimensions, sir. And the one is the political Swaraj, political sovereignty, economic sovereignty, cultural sovereignty. And here I am using the word Swaraj. Swaraj is a Hindi word, sir. It is Hindi
Okay.
is the language from India. So the political Swaraj or political sovereignty I would like to discuss, like African nation must be free from the external domination, but also
Okay.
ensure governance that reflects the will and welfare of their own people. They are free from the external domination, but uh, is the people who are representing them, they are also free? They are truly
Okay.
reflecting the will and welfare of the people? This question must be answered for gaining the political sovereignty first. Second, economic sovereignty. A person who is depend for money, they cannot say that any person is not going to exploit it. The people are changing the name, but doing the same thing. We should also take care of that. That's why the economic sovereignty of the Africa is also important. I see it as an integrated part of the sovereignty. The control over the natural resources, local industries, and development models, so that the growth is not directed by the external powers for their own interest, but shaped by African priorities. Whatever the priority of the Africa, it should be the priority of the Africans. The priority of the external power should not be the priority of Africans too. So economic Swaraj, without economic sovereignty, it is not possible. That's why it must be self-reliant. In India, sir, we are coming up with the program like Viksit Bharat 2047. What is 2047? In 1947, we got independence from the colonial rule, and in 2047, we are heading toward the target to make our country developed, because
Oh,
we
okay.
have gone through a lot of things. So in 100 years, we can go with this target or not. I think Africa is the must also gain this developed status. Why we are see these places like India and Africa and similar type of pattern, like we are having the resources, we are rich resource wise. So why this type of economic instability in the country? Why our people are suffering? So that's why economic sovereignty is the part and parcel of the overall sovereignty. And third one is the cultural sovereignty. What is the meaning of the cultural sovereignty? We are having the rich culture, we are having a diverse culture, but preservation of our indigenous knowledge, our languages and traditions, resisting cultural homogenization. If we are taking the technologies from some countries which are so called developed and implementing it in our countries, in our local context, what if they are not going to work? So we have to respect our indigenous knowledge, and we have to develop our countries according to those knowledge. And our languages should be reflected. It should not be replaced by anything. We are eager to learn other languages, and we are all also communicating today in English. But we should also reflect our own local languages and traditions. And resisting it is very important to gain the sovereignty in the cultural aspect and political Swaraj, political sovereignty, economic sovereignty, and cultural sovereignty. If we are achieving this, so this will be the sovereignty. It is not which we can say that it is not the powers over other and the power over oneself. And societal is going to be disciplined itself by the truth and non-violence, as mentioned in the Satyagraha philosophy. So the closing, or because time is running short, so I would just like to say one word, one sentence here. Like Africa's sovereignty in a Gandhian sense will be complete not when it is merely free, but when it is self-reliant, self-respecting, and guided by the truth and justice in the true sense. So I
Wow.
think this is the motto. We should record it as a essence or souvenir of today's conversation of ours. And I will be very happy if there is a fruitful points which come up in the knowledge of everyone who is associating with our initiatives. So I think this is the answer.
Well, this is very deep because you said it's not only about rulership, but it's about self-reliance. About self-reliance. And self-reliance involves we taking control over our own destinies. We spoke about the political takeover, economic takeover, and cultural takeover, whereby we reflect our own will, we reflect our own destiny. And you spoke about how you said from 1947, when India gained independence, we are looking forward to seeing a complete renaissance of the Indian sovereignty, be it in political, be it in economic, and be it in culture by 2047. And in Africa, the African Union, which reflects the mouthpiece of the entire African continent, is put things in place that by 2063, Africa should also be in the same domain. So there have been a couple of points that have been put in place that Africa should be by 2063, because African countries gained independence between 1957 and 1970. Yes, at least at 1970, Zimbabwe gained independence later. Ghana, we came 1957 in Nigeria, and so, but it went through. So mid-averagely, around the 1960s was the time for African independence. So by 2063, we should see a possible reflection from the African Union. With African Voices International, we want to see things happen now, and involves we putting proactive steps in now through political reflection, through our economic reflection, through our cultural reflection. And these things you said can only take place when we begin to indeed act wisely. You've spoken about how indeed culturally we should speak our own languages, which reflects our own values. Politically, we must be involved towards suiting the needs of the people and ensuring that flow everywhere. Economically, we ensure that abject poverty is a thing of step by step. So we want sovereignty now, and we are going to put things in place. It's been an honor hearing you, Professor Odesh Kumar. We thank you for your gross, in-depth commitment towards giving in your all for us to listen to. And you are a reflection of the global anatomy we want, whereby we can all integrate and be able to flow through, live in the best of lives, regardless of our differences. And we are humbled to hear from you, Professor Odesh Kumar. And it's just going to be the genesis of more interviews that will be taking place this year, 2026. We've had a lot of interviews with you in the past years. We'll be continuing from time to time. And we are humbled to hear from you. We say thank you on Gera and African Voices International Freedom in Africa. Thank you.